Hello, thank you so much for joining us for this very special conversation. Today we're talking about how there is much to be done for the community. We've done a lot currently, but what more needs to be done? Thank you so much everyone for being here. Let's kick off our panel. Do you want to first tell us about what you're doing, the Garima Grihas? I know there's the trans job mela that you're doing along with the Lalit group. So could you tell us a little bit about these great initiatives?
In 2019, we started our first shelter home in Delhi, which was specific for trans men. Why trans men shelter home? Because if you see, the visibility of trans men or what is trans men is not been known till yet by the people. And when the people are not known about the concept, there will be no services for them. We did it a very small, it was a short stay shelter home for people who are in crisis, who need surgery, pre or post surgery care, stay and all. And we started it in a very small house at Govindpuri at South Delhi because the landlord was known to me. I used to stay there, and my landlord, I asked him to give me a place. We got this place, and the 20 COVID hit it. We were blessed with COVID. Trust me, we were blessed with COVID because running the shelter home on our own expenses and sustaining it the entire COVID period and supporting 300 trans men in India in this shelter home. Wow. And that was a empowering and inspiring story for us. And then we applied for Garima Godrej at Mumbai. And we got Garima Godrej. Garima Godrej till date has supported 60 trans people or trans individual, out of which we are very proud to say that 35 people got employment. They end up, because as Akshay said, employment is not the only thing. There are many things. So, but then for corporate, like P&G and Godrej, retention is the most important than employment. So we are happy to say that the retention is 90%. None of them have, 90% of people are still, after 2 years, they're working in the same organization. And now, two of the dream project, which I always think of, is one is I want to start a clinic for transgender, and second is a working hostel, because that's the space which has been yet not worked by any of the corporate. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, fantastic. Thank you for that, Maya, for starting it off and kicking it off and sharing these very important points. And we'll just, as the panel goes along, we'll just build up on that. But Shobna, I just wanted to get you in also first. Your organization, Queer Inc., I know one part of it is a publishing house, which I thought was really fantastic, because it's true, there isn't queer literature in mainstream. I mean, how we talk about how people look at books for inspirations, for motivation, for if you're stuck in a space, you read a self-help book, it helps you get the way out. And it's true, there was so little in mainstream. So if you could just maybe start off just telling us a little bit about Queer Inc. and your story.
Queer Inc. started actually because, for a very, very selfish reason. I loved reading. And back in 2008 and 9, I couldn't find books on queer India, on any queer issues. So I sort of also traveled several states meeting people from the sexuality and gender communities. And they also said they could not access books. So Queer Inc. in 2010 was launched as an online platform just to collate all the books and for people to read, which they did. And then it sort of, the feedback started pouring in where they wanted more books on Indian queer communities, Indian queer people within India. So that's how in 2013 we launched our publishing arm. Now, over the years, we've done lots of events. Storytelling became our main forte. So we did it through books, theater, documentaries, and then it came, COVID hit, and then also our 10th anniversary also was there in 2020. So we did a little bit of reflection, and we realized that with the reflection, we went back to the population of India. And the population of India, according to the 2011 census, is 1.2 billion, 1.3 billion almost. And then the data extrapolated from that is that we have 90 million people who could identify from anywhere in the gender and sexuality perspective. And again, the India story we sort of collected data on was the film censor board certificates only gave the certificates to less than 100 films which had a central queer character or a queer theme in it, less than 100. And then the ISBN, which is the officially recognized books, we had less than 600. So that sort of, if you look at that, the 90 million people, less than 600 books, less than 100 films, it's actually not representative, and it basically makes us very, very invisible. And that is how we are invisible. So one of the other things that also came out through listening to the live sessions in court, the same-sex petition, people are asking, who are we?
Yeah.
That's a very big question for everybody, and we sort of launched, not sort of, but we launched something called Queer Inc. Archives, which is actually recording oral histories of lived queer experiences in India and digitizing the documents that they have, which actually supports the queer presence in India and is very important to them living in India. Now, the entire thing about this is that these records will place queer histories as Indian histories. That's basically what we want to come out of this, is we have to document things for people to know that queer is just not queer. It's also the language we use. So for example, 377 is actually not gay sex, right? Same-sex marriage is actually not same-sex marriage. It's supposed to be marriage. And gay couples is not gay couples. It's actually to be couple. So we have to look at how we can document these queer Indians and put them in a place, or put us in a place we are recognized as Indians. I think that is very important, what we're trying to do through the Queer Inc. Archives at the moment.
Absolutely, Shobna, and that's so important, because somewhere making all of this normal is important to remove those labels. You know, like what you said, it's not gay couple, it's just couple. It's people have different choices in life. Ruhi, I'll start with you. In your experience at GC, how do you, and otherwise also in life, how do you get people to ask? Because, you know, and in today's world, we don't want to sound ignorant. We want to be like, boss, mujhe sab kuch malum hai. But we don't know everything. And people feel scared, or they don't want to ask. But how do you get people to say, just talk, let's do those conversations?
So I think the important thing is to create this environment where everyone is comfortable being dealt with as an individual. To have conversations in the organizations that people are different, women have their separate challenges, people here will have separate challenges. How do you deal with each person individually and create an opportunity where people can ask? Sometime back, in fact, a manager was asking me that he wants to ask a person in his team who's a woman if she'd like to go back early in the evening, or is she comfortable staying back? And he says, I really don't know. Is it the right question to ask? Because all women also want to be treated differently. So if you create an environment where people will have 3 things to think about before they can even ask questions, questions will stop, conversations will stop. So I think the important thing is also to talk to people from the community saying, you know, everyone doesn't know everything. So if something is asked, please deal with it, you know, with that thought in mind that you need to educate, be active allies, educate people. So if we create an environment where people can ask questions, people are encouraged to answer questions, I think those are some of the solutions.
Ankur, P&G leading corporate, you're obviously everywhere around the globe. And if you're putting these policies in place, of course, the early days, there must have been some hurdles, some things that you had to course correct. If anything that you could share with us so that everybody out there, the audience here, the television or watching audience, if they can also maybe take back that, okay, maybe these are things, just be wary of this when we start our journey on this.
Broadly, it will boil down to, how do we make that culture change? And that culture change has to start with a combination, as I was sharing, of the right hardware and the right software. To me, the starting point has to be internal. Until you are kind of as a company with everybody, the employees and the allies and the community is not safe, anything external is going to be superficial. And that has to start with sensitization. So as we talked, right from the leadership down to everybody who is on the plant floor getting, sensitized, getting versed, as we call it, being trained on what this means, because let's also acknowledge that it is a new space for many people still, yes. Right? And having done the sensitization, then ensuring that everybody feels the same way, the policies are absolutely important. And I touched upon it, to the extent possible, each and every policy has to apply, and you have to be vocal about it, that this is how it is being implemented, that, irrespective of what is the background or the orientation, this is available for, everyone. These two done, the whole place around the infrastructure or the hardware part with simple things like gender neutral washrooms, or visible branding, that when you walk in, or your partners, whether they are suppliers, customers, anybody walking in can feel that this place is a safe space. It's not at one end of the office, but visible out there, something that you stand by. And then I think as the community itself starts becoming comfortable, having more and more initiatives which make them feel that this is not only safe, but they can, kind of, to the point which we was making, bring up conversations and so on, bring their authentic self, and, that's where having still safe spaces, I think once these internal pieces are in place, the external partnerships, do play a big part, which is where, for me, the education institutes the work with, say, IIT Madras and so on, are absolutely pivotal.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Ankur. Akshay, coming to you, when you want to try and, yes, it's absolutely important that kids need to learn this at the early stage. But how do you convince the parents that, let me teach your kids this? Because unless the parents don't accept this, know about this, they will be like,
so if we start these conversation and not normalize, because everything is normal.
Everything is normal.
But mainstream these conversations, have our kids understand that if somebody is not having access to an iPad to play a game and is rather going to a playground to work with the sand and make their toys on their own cells, is the diversity that we are talking about. And each one of us have an equal amount of representation and sort of visibility in our constitution. Like, none of us are in any way less powerful or more powerful. We are all equal in the eyes of the constitution. And if you really look at it from that perspective, you'll get to make your kids understand that it is so important that whatever you have also speaks a lot about the privilege that you are born with, and how to actually convert that privilege into an opportunity to support people is the need of the hour.
Variety is the spice of life. Yes, please.
I'll just answer the question about being a parent. I have a 7.5-year-old, or we have. So as a parent, it's important for us to be confident who we are. Yeah. I mean, we are queer parents, but even other parents as well. They need to be confident of who they are and where they're placing their kids. And also in terms of bringing, a lot of people don't know these things. So being part of that change is very important as well, because when it comes to Mother's Days now, and the kids are given, one card to do for your mother, our son says, I need 2 cards. I have 2 mamas, right? So as parents, it's very important to be empowered, and the thing also is about being visible.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is such a lovely story, Shobna. Thank you for sharing that. And so important. Your Highness, I'll just come to you now. You were telling us about how after you were interviewed by Oprah, and a lot of international people called you. You went to different countries. What are things that you're seeing happening abroad that you feel that maybe India should do this or could do this to just help us kind of leapfrog or move faster on this journey?
So another thing which I've been working on when I travel out of India is connecting to a lot of Indian population, or rather even Asian population who have migrated to countries like US and many other places. So wherever I've been meeting with influential people, like when I met Justin Trudeau, that's the same thing which I told him. I said there are so many Indians who are from the community who are still struggling with their sexuality in Canada, and they need help, because there's even though Canada is liberal, but the families are not. And a lot of, I met so many Indian families in different parts of the world, in Sydney, in New York, and in Europe, in UK, where their mindset when they left India is the same. So they're still very, very conservative. Even they've gone and migrated to the foreign countries, but their mindset is still very, very conservative Indian. So I'm hopeful that at least we could, with education, awareness, the source is India and the destination is US, Australia, Europe, these places. So working with the government, working with political leaders, and working with education institutions, we are trying to see how we could get these Indians, those who are migrated to these countries, how we could help them and how we could get their parents to accept them, and also how we could address these issues on human trafficking.
Thank you so much, His Highness. Thank you, Shobna. Thank you, Akshay. Thank you, Maya. Thank you, Angur. And thank you, Ruhi, for being here. Thank you to the audience. You've been fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone.
At P&G, we strongly believe in the culture of inclusion. It is at the heart of everything that we do, and that is also the bedrock of our journey of what we call as Gable, which is the inclusive environment that we have and the chapter that we have for LGBTQ plus community. It all starts by being versed, which is ensuring that we have the right sensitization of our employees and of our allies. Once the worst part is done, it is about visible and vocal allyship, which we do through multiple things, starting from markers that we have at the entrance of our plants to our buildings, to all the way to getting the simple things like having stickers on our laptops, to lanyard crossings, to rainbow lanyards, and so on. These two things being in place, policies is what we ensure that it is uniform and consistent for everybody. And then we work along with external partnerships, as we have done previously with IIT Madras, and now extending to 50 plus education institutes to foster a culture which is inclusive. In the end, we want that any individual who walks in should be able to bring their full authentic self to work without worrying of any bias at the workplace day in and day out.
The youngest business of the Godrej Group, which is Godrej Capital, believes in creating a fair, equitable work environment where all cohorts of diversity come together and thrive. They join us, they grow with us, and they continue to learn and enrich themselves. We hire women, we hire from the LGBTQI community, we hire people with disabilities, and our focus is always to ensure that we have representation, we have equitable policies, we have the right infrastructure, and we create an inclusive work environment where everyone can truly be themselves. Not only that, we are also now extending this ethos, this core belief that we would like to do inclusive practices for not just our employees but also our customers. Very recently in 2023, we've launched the same-sex partner home loans, where members from the same-sex partners can come take a home loan with us and invest in a dream home of their choice.
At Tenco Gold and Diamonds, we believe in giving everyone an equal opportunity to prove themselves and to display their talents. Tenco Gold and Diamonds is very proud to announce to be an all-inclusive organization where we believe in supporting our employees in the difficult road journey and giving them whatever means to support their wish and their dream.
Let's now hear from the prominent voices of the LGBTQ+ community.
My only sort of request to a lot of people from the business community is that please make diversity, equity, and inclusion a part of the DNA of your company. Please bring it up in every conversation possible. Please make sure that ESG and sustainability are keywords. Inclusion should be at the top of your list. Please sensitize your teams. Please let people, wear their sexuality on their sleeves with the badge of pride. Please create safe working spaces, working environments. Let people be able to come there and thrive. Please have all those policies that are queer friendly, that are trans friendly, that are inclusive. And please make sure that we back the community through and through.
One of the messages that I want to give to the larger audience is accept us. Accept us as we are rather than enforcing how you want to see us. We are trying to be the authentic self, and I think only when we are being authentic selves, we will be able to be the best and give the best to the world out there.
377 was back in our life in 2013, and when it hit my work, and then later on I started doing my parties, and today it's been 12 years. I have my event group where I've been giving parties in different cities, just not Mumbai. It's been very different experience altogether, because when people say about parties, it looks like, it's just a nightclub or people are drinking and dancing, but it is a place where people can be themselves. They can wear what they want to wear. They can dress up, they can wear makeup, or they can be with their partner, hold their hands, dance together. It's just not a like regular nightlife. For us, it's like a soul when it come out in a place where it enjoys our life.
A lot of people are not aware about the term drag, but if you go to see, and if I take you way back to 60 years ago, drag has always been a part of the Indian culture. Our Indian cinema has always tried embracing drag culture, but it's just that they were not able to really do justice to that art form, because we were always been used as a comic, and that actually just confused a lot of the audiences around. But with time, I guess people have been able to understand what drag is now.